Welcome back, you're watching To The Point. This afternoon, the Aam Aadmi Party released a CD claiming the BJP is trying to bribe its MLAs so they can form a government in Delhi. This follows attempts by the Lieutenant Governor to create a government after keeping the Assembly in suspension for 6 months. But beyond the veracity of the Aam Aadmi Party sting, there are three critical questions. First, can a government be formed without horse trading or other improprieties? Second, where does Congress stand on this issue? Third, why is the Aam Aadmi Party so keen on an immediate election? With me to discuss those questions, which I believe will reveal the truth beyond the present controversy, is Aam Aadmi Party leader Yogendra Yadav, former Congress Minister Kiran Walia, BJP spokesperson GVL Narasimha Rao, and the political editor of the Hindustan Times, Vinod Sharma. Yogendra Yadav, after keeping the Delhi Assembly in suspended animation for 6 months, the Lieutenant Governor has sought permission from the President to invite the BJP to form a government. Now, given that Delhi needs a government, and second, given that the BJP is the single largest party, why is the Aam Aadmi Party protesting against this?
Karan, the LG's decision is somewhat intriguing. It is intriguing because when the government was to be formed in the month of December last year, the Lieutenant Governor insisted on getting letters of support. He did not say, you have 28, please come and form government. He insisted on letters of support. Why has he not decided to ask for letters of support is a question. Second, if he was of the opinion that single largest party should be given a chance, he could have decided it on the 16th of February. He could have decided this on the 20th of June. Why has this wisdom come after 7 months? That's intriguing. As far as the BJP is concerned, I guess the situation is somewhat simple, which is that the party does not have numbers. It doesn't have the courage to go to the people. It doesn't have popular support, as many polls, including the polls that your channels have shown, have clearly indicated. It doesn't have moral qualms either. But what it has is central government, which is what they are using, and they are using it precisely for the kind of things that we saw in the sting today. Let's not undermine the sting.
Can I interrupt?
What the sting? I mean, yeah.
You raised two quick issues. Why hasn't the governor asked for letters of support? He may well, after the BJP says they're willing to form a government. It's a bit premature to ask for letters of support before they've actually said they are willing to form a government. So that could be the second stage. And as for the question of delay, why didn't he do this in February rather than now? Well, he delayed it because in February he decided to put the Assembly into suspended animation for 6 months. Now, before he decides whether he should dissolve or not, he feels it's incumbent on him to do a round of finding out whether a government is possible. Hence, he's making this inquiry at this stage.
Karan, if he still wants to get letters of support, he doesn't have to go to the President at all. You know, that's such a routine normal inquiry. Why this letter to the President saying, I want to invite a party which is single largest, does not have majority? That is a question. Second, after 7 months, if the political situation has changed, perfect, then he has every right to do so. And of course, it's a constitutional duty incumbent upon him to explore ways of forming the government.
Absolutely.
The trouble, of course, is nothing has changed since then. Well, if the governor would just indicate what has changed, then of course he's well within his rights to do so.
That's precisely the issue I want to explore, and I'm going to put it in fact to GVL Narasimha Rao. You have only 28 MLAs in the Delhi Assembly at the moment. That's 3 less than what you had in December. And even if you add to that 28 the support of the Shiromani Akali Dal and Vinod Bini, you're still 3 short. Now, today's Hindustan Times says that you're either relying on Congress or Aam Aadmi Party MLAs abstaining or actually quitting the Assembly before the vote of confidence. And in fact, Aam Aadmi Party now alleges, through a CD they've made public, that you're actually bribing their MLAs to ensure that outcome.
Karan, I think this BJP has never stated that we have claimed to form the next government in Delhi. All along, what we said is that we are waiting for the Lieutenant Governor to take subsequent steps. If he does invite BJP to form a government, and depending on what are the terms of this, what kind of a government he wants to be formed, What is it that he is actually asking the BJP? We will cross the bridge when we come to it. We don't know whether he is going to invite any party at all, whether he is going to invite BJP, whether he will seek letters of support, whether he will give some time for government to prove its majority. I think all political parties are somehow trying to create some kind of a controversy, trying to preempt the Lieutenant Governor. This is nothing but posturing by the Aam Aadmi Party.
Mr. Rasmarao, yours is a very fair answer. You're waiting first to find out if you're invited. When you're invited, you'll consider it on the terms of the offer made, and therefore you're not going to give me an answer in advance. I leave that aside for now. Let me come to the second issue. Are you guilty, as the Aam Aadmi Party has claimed as a result of the sting that they've done and made public, of attempting to bribe MLAs either to ensure that they abstain or to ensure that they resign from the assembly, so that after the resignation the numbers change and your position becomes a majority position? Are you guilty of that?
Absolutely not. I think, you see, there is nothing really visible in that sting, but despite that, the concerned person with whom they had an interaction, he came before the media, he offered his explanation, he said these people came and according to him, they tried to really frame him into this kind of a conversation. I think the kind of things that Aam Aadmi Party was involved in, I think the leaders were very visible, and even then they claimed that they needed the raw footage, the original footage to verify, to validate, and they cannot have two sets of rules for themselves and for other parties.
Perfectly fair. I'm going to not pursue this matter of
I
a
need
sting.
to come in here,
Just a minute. I don't actually want to pursue this matter of a sting. I asked him a question, he's answered it. I don't want to get deflected from our discussion, because our discussion is not about the sting. We'll get into a different territory there. Mrs. Walia, today's Hindustan Times goes one step further. The paper says, and I'm quoting, Congress appears to be in favor of a BJP government, as it believes this would help it regroup and revive, and also shrink the political space available and at the moment occupied by the Aam Aadmi Party. Although the paper adds, you're not saying this publicly. Tell me, is the paper wrong?
Well,
because most people would say the paper has probably guessed your position perfectly.
It's a conjecture. It's like Hindustan Times says so. There has been some mention of it in Times of India too, but I personally feel, and nobody has taken this position at all, and we are just watching what's going to happen, because we are not the major party who are going to make a difference in this decision making as to who should be forming the government. As far as we are concerned, it's embarrassing and it's sad for us, as the day for democracy is concerned, that the Aam Aadmi Party led to this very unstable situation, a very fragile, something that, put the whole thing in disarray. And that triggered from that, and from beginning from that,
can I interrupt?
the Bharatiya Janata Party, yes.
The reason I asked this question, and the reason why I believe the Hindustan Times claim has a certain credibility, is because at the Supreme Court level, you are opposing the Aam Aadmi petition calling for an early election. There your stand is that in fact the government needs to take more steps to ensure a government is possible. So what you say in public on TV studios that you're in favor of an election is contradicted by the stand you're taking in the Supreme Court.
What stand we'll take tomorrow you'd come to know, but let me say that yes, that's the reason why we supported Aam Aadmi Party. We did not want to impose an election on the people of Delhi so soon, and that was one reason, because you have to preserve your democratic institutions. When they asked for support, we gave unconditional support to the extent that we agreed with all the demands that they put on the agenda. And after that, if they walk out of this with the support coming from Congress,
that's the past you're going into, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the stand you've taken in the Supreme Court, where you oppose the Aam Aadmi Party petition calling for elections. What you say tomorrow may be another matter. We'll find out tomorrow. But your present stand at the Supreme Court is not, we want elections. It's the opposite. We don't want elections. And that's why people think that your real position is you want to avoid another fight.
No. Our real position is we supported the assembly being put in suspended animation, because I think it's very important to explore the possibilities of government formation in a democracy than jumping into elections every 2 months, 2.5 months.
You're now confirming what I'm saying. So thank you very much indeed. You're now confirming what I'm saying. Vinod Sharma, there's one scenario that no one has considered, which is perfectly legal, legitimate and constitutional, and that is the formation of a viable minority government. As the single largest party, the BJP has an absolute right to form a minority government, and that minority government will survive until it's defeated on the floor of the House.
That's right.
And if the requirement to defeat it is Aam Aadmi and Congress coming together, which they are not willing to do, then the BJP could survive as a minority for months, if not years.
Well, it can, you see, but it's going to be a very difficult situation for the Congress party. The fact is that both the BJP and the Congress do not want fresh elections. I do not know what's the current state position of the BJP spokespersons, but a couple of days back there was an interview by the BJP president to a television channel where he clearly seemed to be invoking the doctrine of mandate, referring to a renewed mandate that the party got in the Lok Sabha elections.
What he said was there's nothing wrong in trying to form a government, and he's right.
He also referred to the fresh mandate. He called the Lok Sabha mandate as a fresh mandate.
No, let's not get confused with mandates, because then we get on to philosophical
No,
debates.
it's not that. What I'm saying
What about my question, which is, they have a right to form a minority government.
They can form a minority
government. And they can do it without bribing MLAs.
Well, if an MLA abstains or does not vote, he will be surely accused in the current situation of having been bought over. I mean, we are living in very difficult times.
Your paper story gives
conventionally.
No, your paper story today suggests that all that needs to happen for a BJP minority government to survive is Congress as a whole either abstain or Congress find a pretext to walk out. And since your paper says Congress doesn't want elections, therefore this logic works with Congress's interest.
Both are possible.
Absolutely.
But I think this would be, Congress perhaps feels that if it abstains or walks out, it will be paying a lesser price than going in for a fresh election, because the Aam Aadmi party will get another chance to try its luck, and then there's a turf war between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi party.
See what you've just done. You've just suggested Congress could give a lifeline to the BJP to form a government without horse trading.
Because Congress perhaps is thinking that they should be yielding an inch to gain a mile.
Absolutely. Whatever Congress's reason may be, the conclusion is a BJP minority government
possibility is there.
And it can survive.
But even Aam Aadmi party, if what the sting says is true, alleges is true, even the Aam Aadmi party MLAs could be induced to abstain.
Induced is bribery. Let's leave bribery out of it. I don't want to bring bribery into it. I want to put that key thought to you, Mr. Narasimha Rao, without bribery. Will you tell me whether your party is willing to form a minority government in Delhi? And I'll tell you why I ask. Because that is the only way you can fulfill Amit Shah's desire to form a government and still be true to Rajnath Singh when Rajnath Singh says that there will be no horse trading. The only way to do that is to form a minority government.
Absolutely. You see, these are several possibilities. I think we should not be jumping the gun. We should wait for the Lieutenant Governor to take a view. He is also, I think, if he does invite and if he allows a minority government to be formed, and BJP may consider it. I have no hesitation in saying that. And we have actually won a big Lok Sabha mandate. If there is anything which is immoral, it will be for the Aam Aadmi party and the Congress party to get together
leave
after Lok
mandates
Sabha
out of
election
it.
and
Just as I told Vinod Sharma, leave mandates out of it.
Has made and failed.
Leave mandates out of it. The important point. No, I'm leaving mandates out of it because you then come into so-called philosophical territory that could be disputed. The key point you're making is that you are prepared. I'm bringing you in a moment's time, Yogendra. The key point you're making, Mr. Narasimha Rao, is that you're prepared to consider a minority government. Please confirm that with a yes again.
I think that is possible.
Good, thank you.
Yogendra, that is allowed, and that's
absolutely, it's possible, it's allowed, it's legal, it's legitimate, it's constitutional. Yogendra Yadav, when you protested to the president, claiming that the BJP could only form a government on the basis of horse trading, did Arvind Kejriwal forget and overlook the fact that a minority government is not just possible, it's constitutional?
He did not forget it. The country has seen many minority governments, but over the years, two conventions have very strongly developed. Number one, before inviting a minority government, the president or the governor or the lieutenant governor, as the case may be, has to satisfy himself that it would win confidence vote on the floor of the House. And the convention set by K.R. Narayanan, who really set gold standards of propriety on this question, the convention is you seek letters in black and white. You say, all right, produce 34 letters and I'll invite you. Yes, you are minority. Yes, you do not enjoy majority today, but I need to satisfy myself that on the day of confidence
I'm interrupting
vote,
you because you're citing a convention that is not by any way a rule. Look, if you cite letters of support before you commit a minority government, it ceases to be a minority government. The whole point of a minority government is it's a government that functions so long as the majority is prepared to let it do so. In other words, what the BJP would be saying is we
let me give you an example.
Congress
Our government was
to
a minority government. Can you listen to me? Can you listen to me, Karan? For example, Arvind Kejriwal's own government was a minority government. We said it every single day that it was a minority government. But the Lieutenant Governor satisfied himself with the help of letters that this government, which happens to be in minority, where we had only 28 MLAs, but it would pass a test of majority on the first day of vote of confidence. The governor made sure that he did so. And this is a proper convention.
I'm not sure it's a convention at all. That's what I'm disputing. I don't want to get locked into a debate with you, but I think the whole essence of a minority government is that it doesn't come to office after getting letters of support, because then it ceases to be minority. Once you've got the letters of support, you're a majority government. And that's the point, by the way, that's the point you made, forgive me, when you demanded a dissolution and it was refused. Your actual answer to me on this very program was that you were a majority government, never a minority government. And you buttressed that point at that time by saying you'd also just a few hours earlier passed money bills. So, you know, this issue is a convenient one for you at the moment, but it's not really the essence of minority. Let me bring in Kiran Walia at that point and put this to you, Mrs. Walia.
Karan, can I say that I
let me bring Mrs. Walia and I'll come back to you.
What I had
I'll bring Mrs. Walia first. Mrs. Walia,
we enjoyed majority on that particular day.
Well, Mrs. Walia, let me put this to you.
Well, a short response.
Let me put the question to you first. Let me put the question to you first before you give me your response. The ability of a BJP minority government to survive hinges critically on what the Congress party will do when there's a vote of confidence. We all know there's no question of Aam Aadmi supporting them, and there's no question of Aam Aadmi abstaining either. The whole thing hinges on what Congress will do. Now, all you need to do to keep that minority government in play is either abstain or find a pretext to walk out of the assembly. And as the Hindustan Times article today makes clear, you don't want an election. At all costs, you want to ensure that there is government in Delhi and that there is no election. And this, I put it to you, is your way of doing it.
And my response is that a minority government as a matter of propriety is billion times better than horse trading. And if that minority government, functions in a manner that most people accept the decisions they take, how they implement. But minority government is always a fragile government. It may not last long at all. So in that situation, the only possibility today, my personal view and everybody's view in the party today is it's much better to go for elections. There seems to be no other way to escape this kind of horse trading that we are seeing day in and day out. Even the Aam Aadmi Party, excuse me, had tried to buy off
because do you know what your first half of your answer clearly established? You said the proprieties of a minority government are far better than horse trading. That is clearly a suggestion to me and the audience that you would therefore accept a minority government, and it's in your interest not to bring it down quickly.
Excuse me. I'm qualifying my statement, but it's a very fragile and unstable government, a minority government. So keeping that in view, election seems to be the only solution today.
All right, I'm going to come to the Hindustan Times political editor, because so much of this discussion hinges on the veracity of that front page article in your paper today. Your article made it crystal clear that in fact Congress at all costs wants to avoid an election. And the only way they can avoid an election and still not go in for horse trading either is if they agree to keep a BJP minority government in play. And all they have to do is either abstain or walk out before a vote happens.
You see, in my personal view, an option that should be preferable to the Congress to see the BJP forming a government through horse trading. Because by abstaining, they would be ceding the entire opposition space to the Aam Aadmi Party. Let's not forget that.
In other words, horse trading to form a government is preferable
By
to
the
Congress.
BJP. It should be from the Congress standpoint.
Except-
BJP resorting to unfair means to form a government.
Congress can't influence BJP into horse trading or not horse trading. That's beyond Congress's powers.
Yeah.
What Congress can do is to give the BJP an assurance, if you form a minority, we won't bring you down. Because Congress's biggest concern is they don't want an early election. They know they'll be wiped out.
The Congress's biggest concern in not having an early election is to regroup and recoup their lost ground.
Absolutely.
Vis-a-vis the Aam
And
Aadmi
they
Party,
need
which
time.
in my view...
They need time.
No, which in my view, if they allow a BJP government to come into place and allow it to survive for some period of time, they will be ceding the entire opposition
But now
space
you're
to the Aam Aadmi.
contradicting
No, I'm not contradicting
the logic
anything.
of your front page.
No,
Your
no.
front page said
I'm,
something else.
see, this is, we are having a discussion, and what has been rendered there are various options available. No, we are having a discussion.
Absolutely,
on that
but
and this is on the basis of what some people in the Congress are saying. No, what view prevails,
Oh, hang on a second.
according to me.
People in the Congress, your paper thought was credible enough to put on the front page.
Yes, of course.
So therefore, your paper is taking the view.
You see-
your paper is taking the
you
view
see-
that they are making credible points.
See, listen, you are putting it very wrongly. You see, when we are writing a story, and it's not about this story here, we are discussing a scenario. You are saying a minority government would be a perfectly legitimate government. I
would
agree
be.
with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I believe that a minority government put in place with the help of the Congress will be defeating the very purpose of the Congress for which it's avoiding elections.
In other words,
they'll be ceding the entire political
absolutely.
space to Aam Aadmi
The
Party.
Congress has to decide which is the greater of the two evils.
Yes. It's a difficult situation for the
Supporting
Congress
a minority
Party.
government and losing effectiveness that way.
Yes.
Or going in for elections and losing effectiveness that way.
Very purpose will be lost.
Which is the greater of the two evils? One or other is still an evil. Very quickly, Mr. Narasimha Rao, because this is the most important thing you said. You are repeating, are you not, that you are prepared to consider a minority government if an offer to form a government is made to you?
Yes, absolutely, because we believe today we have a big mandate in Lok Sabha elections,
Okay.
and we are the only party which possibly
All
is in
right.
a position to form a minority government, and we do not consider anything wrong with it. We do not want to be seen as imposing elections on people of Delhi, and possibly 3 days from now,
Okay.
elections we might consider to be the only possibility.
Very quickly,
but we
Yogendra
don't
Yadav,
want to be
if-
seen as a
if-
party thrusting elections.
Very quickly, Yogendra Yadav, and you have to answer in 30 seconds because we're horribly out of time. If the governor were to in fact do what I'm saying is a possibility, invite the BJP to form a minority government without calling for letters of support in advance, what will you do?
It would be horribly constitutionally wrong. The minimum convention is that the governor has to say, I'm giving you 10 days, please prove your majority.
Well, that he may,
I
but
have
he may not ask for
seen
letters of
anything,
support.
any times this may be violated.
Okay.
And if it is done without letters of support is wrong.
Okay.
And if it is done with tacit understanding of Congress, we would just want the tacit understanding to be made public. Let them form, let the BJP
Okay,
and
I've
Congress
run out of
sustain a
time,
government.
Yogendra
But
Yadav,
let the
forgive me.
people of Delhi
I'm
know
going
about that.
have to stop you there. We're horribly out of time. My thanks to all four of my guests for joining me.
Mr.
The
Karan,
point I want to make out is that it is possible to form a government in Delhi without horse trading. It would be a minority government, and that would not involve horse trading. And I believe that in fact there is no firm
Karanji,
convention of a
I would
minority
like to
government
say,
needing
I would also-
letters of support converted to a majority. But clearly, this is one of those tricky
Congress
constitutional
cannot support
issues. All right.
BJP ideologically. It will go for elections rather than do this. I say
That's what you're saying, Mrs.
I
Walia.
take
Your
my
colleagues
15
speaking to
seconds.
the Hindustan Times on their front page have said something else. That's the problem. Your party speaks. Thanks to
Considered
all
view,
four of my guests for
we
joining me.
can never
This is a
support
tricky
that.
issue to which we will undoubtedly be returning repeatedly because that issue in question of a government in Delhi still has to be resolved. If you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.